You could spend a week through this site and you would never see it all. But
what is this website? This is his recovery network? You know what? Why not? Let's just take a look at his recovery network.
welcome to the Lindells Recovery Network.
Thank you, Mike.
You all know me as the inventor of my pillow.
I love that he frames it up that like it's this invention that's like this technical thing that he put a lot of work into, when really what he was doing was cutting up foam and stuffing it in bags. That's his invention process for my pillow.
But what you might not know is that for over 30 years, I had many addictions, including crack cocaine.
You know, everybody's heard that. And actually, I do appreciate the visibility he's providing to addiction and how serious it is, and that it affects everybody, not just certain communities, not just the poor, not just nobody. Everyone is affected by this if you're a human being.
I tried many times in many ways to quit my addictions, including going to meetings, counseling, treatment centers, you name it, I've tried it.
What is up with this guy's hair? He's got a humongous floof right in the front. And why is he looking down his nose? That's weird, right?
Everything I've experienced in my life has helped me to develop the most revolutionary platform for addiction ever.
Dude, he has to be like Trump and make things way more hyperbolic than it actually is, right? He invented this special proprietary patented pillow technology. He's got this revolutionary addiction thing. Come on, man.
What I'd like you to do to get started is enter your age and your addiction below, and you will see people that have made it through. You're going to see your hope matches.
See my hope matches, huh? Okay, wow. Let's do it. 34. Weird, your mom is not on the list. I was really hoping your mom was here. Oh, wow, dude. Okay. Listen to the list. Here's the list of addiction that Mike can help you with. Your mom isn't here, sadly. It should be, but we've got alcohol, binge drinker. Alcohol, maintenance/daily drinker. I appreciate that he separated those two. That's valuable. Coke, crack, ecstasy. I actually did know some people that were addicted to ecstasy. It's just not very common, I don't think. Gambling, I appreciate that's on the list. Heroin, we'll put that one in a second. Opioids, they're the same thing. Why did he separate heroin and opioids? Under opioids, got fentanyl, OxyContin, Percocet, etc. Heroin is an opioid. Benzodiazepines, Klonopin, Valium, Xanax, etc. Marijuana, meth, and then we've got sex and pornography. Wouldn't those two be the same, probably under the same category? I would think. Do I dare put sex and pornography? Yes, we do. We do dare. Okay, let's listen.
Led me to discover pornography at a very young age, like definitely before like my teenage years, but a lot in my teenage years. I think because I was not getting it from other people and love and that attention, I needed to find it elsewhere.
I'm sorry, I don't believe you. I do not believe any of this. This is absolutely made up, right?
And I found that in my secret place, which was watching pornography and videos, as well as photos and stuff like that. So,
which is videos and photos and stuff like that. Is there another type of porn that you can look at other than video or photo? I'm trying to think. Is there another? Did she literally just name every category and then just say and stuff like that? I guess there are, what are those, the acid prints where the etchings? I guess etchings, paintings, I suppose, things like that.
When I was my adolescent years, I didn't glow up until much later in life. Did
she say she didn't glow up?
Glow up until much later.
She did. She said, I didn't glow up. What the hell does that mean? I was doing this in my adolescent years. I didn't glow up until later in life. What?
And I didn't glow up until much later in life. So I struggled with my sexual identity, who I even was, who I liked, was I bi?
See, that's the problem. You got trans people, you got gay people. If they stopped looking at porn, all of that would go away, and they would just be straight, cis people. Wait, glow up means get more attractive. Oh, Jen has cookies. I appreciate that. I've never heard that before. Okay.
Was I gay? Was I straight? I didn't know at that point, and I was watching so much pornography that it really got me twisted and trying to figure out, like, who am I? And, like, in the back of my mind, I always knew God was there, and I was going to church and I was hearing.
This is what I'm talking about. This is why you shouldn't be going to Mike Lindell for recovery in anything at all. Because he says turn to Jesus. That's his answer to everything. That's not a valid answer. Okay? Jesus isn't going to solve all of your problems. You can't just hope it away. You need to work at this. It's going to be a challenge, a struggle. You're going to fight. It's going to be an uphill battle. You know what? This porn addiction thing, I'm not even convinced that it is an addiction. I talked about this in psychology classes in college. My professor seemed to be convinced that it was real, porn and sex addiction. I'm just having trouble accepting it. Okay? Maybe. I guess so. Probably. I suppose out of 6 or 7 or 8 billion people, there are probably some that have this. I've never met one, never even heard of one. Only time I ever hear about it is from people that are just straight up lying like this one. But I suppose it's possible that it exists. The point, though, is that other addictions, like more common addictions, we'll just put it that way, more common ones, heroin addiction, crack addiction, stuff like that, it's a challenge to get out of, and believing Jesus will pull you out of it is no different than just hoping it away. Drugs and religion work on the same part of the brain. Everybody says drugs are bad. They're not. Drugs are good. They're extremely good. They're so good, in fact, that when you take them for the first time, there is no turning back. That's it. Okay? When you do heroin for the first time, you will never forget what that feels like. When you do crack or coke or whatever for the first time, you'll never forget what it's like. That is how good it is. And you can't stop. You cannot go back on this. People who turn around and walk away from this drug, they have a level of willpower that most people never experience in their lives because it's so intensely enjoyable. When you take coke, for example, the chemical fits into your brain like a key. It fits into the reward center. It makes you feel like you've just won the lottery. It's the same feeling. I mean, you realize you haven't won the lottery, but that excitement, that burst of energy, your brain starts rushing, everything is going, and you feel like you just won $10 million. Exact same feeling. Drugs do the same thing as winning the lottery, which does the same thing as deeply believing that God is there in your life. It all works on the same part of the brain, the reward center. Now, when people replace their drugs with God, it seems like an easy replacement, but what happens when that faith is challenged? If you need to take a medicine to prevent withdrawal symptoms from coming up on you, like taking Suboxone, buprenorphine, to get off of heroin, if you need to take that to replace the heroin on the opioid receptors while you deal with the emotional underlying issues that led to you doing all of this, I am 100% in favor of that. But you shouldn't be replacing drugs with God and just leaving God in that spot. You should be dealing with the underlying emotional issues that got you there. Because once God is gone, once that's not there anymore, once your faith gets challenged, once you drop interest in it or whatever, what happens then? You should be going to secular therapy programs for addiction, not NA or AA. NA and AA were started in church basements. They are religious programs, not scientific based. Don't go to NA or AA. Such a shame to me that NA and AA are so ubiquitous in the addiction scene.
What stuck with me was living in that perversion, spending hours upon hours digesting the wrong images and the wrong ideas of what love looked like.
Okay, well, there was our porn addiction person. Oh, God. All right, let's take a look at, let's check this one.
I know that probably by the age of 13, I put myself to sleep every night fantasizing about being part of the perfect family, that I was rescued by someone that loved me, someone that that cared about me. But
That's a bad thing? Thinking about being part of a good family that rescued you, that cared about you, that's bad? What the hell is happening right now?
it was just going off into a fantasy world where I felt like I was accepted and where I belonged. And
Kashmir is going after the Christmas tree. Kashmir! Psst, psst. No, I think he's... Get down from there. Sorry. All right. Okay, let's continue listening to her talk about thinking about being in a family.
where I felt like I was accepted and where I belonged. And that then grew into reading romance novels.
Jehovah's Witnesses think that they're evil. You shouldn't be reading romance novels. I don't actually know what they're about. I should read one, just see what it has to say. I bet it's bad, right?
And, I no longer had to make up the fantasies because I could just read about them. I could read somebody else's story and make it my own.
Okay, so the difference between sex addiction and porn addiction. One of them relates to pictures, and the other is romance novels. One is pictures, one's writing. Am I reading this correctly?
Being rescued and loved and cared for. And that soon was accompanied by compulsive masturbation.
Oh my God, please, man.
And just that wanting to feel good, not knowing any other way to find that.
And the real way to find that was Jesus, right?
And that continued through high school into college. And I think I was just trying to find my place in the world. And
this is just so sad, dude. Seriously. What is wrong with these people? That they're pushing people to view themselves as like evil and wrong and disgusting. All right, let's see what this guy has to say here. Check this out.
Okay. Also, I'm Ronald Green, I'm 60 years old, and I most of all hate my sexual addiction to having to sleep with different ladies, but thank God I was able to be safe because I did safe, but still I hated the life that I live as far as in my sexual wise decisions.
I thought for sure it was going to be something about being gay. I'm surprised. Oh, was that the end? Really? It was only 24 seconds long? Okay, thank you, Ronald Graves. Is that what he said? Okay, let's check this out.
Dates and put myself in awful, dangerous situations. And a lot of times I would just meet people in hotel rooms, just go straight to their hotel room. I remember being at a job.
Wait. You would meet people in hotel room. You just go to a hotel room and knock, and then didn't even know the person. Just say, "Hey, you want to whatever?" And they'd say, "Yeah, come on in."
That I was like a delivery person at this job, and I was just like starting to become addicted to this sugar daddy website. And just like in the back room, I would just like message all these guys, and then after work, I would go to their hotels, like sometimes one after the other, and just.
All right, let me tell you something. I don't actually see anything wrong with this behavior aside from the fact that it's not very safe. You put yourself in a dangerous situation. You need to be careful about this stuff. You need to use birth control. You need to use stuff that will prevent you from catching any STDs or anything like that. And in my opinion, you should really know who you're dealing with before doing this because people are crazy. So that's the only real reason I have an issue with this. Personally, I'm about as monogamous as it gets. I've only dated a total of 6 or 7 girlfriends or something. I don't even know how many girlfriends, but very few, ultimately. Especially when I meet people who have been with 50 girls or something like that. The point is, just be safe, okay? There's nothing wrong with this as long as you're safe, as long as you know people or whatever. And isn't it interesting how this is a problem for her, but it wouldn't be a problem if she was doing all of this stuff with her husband? Like if she was just with her husband this often, this many times. It's not a sex addiction then. Only a sex addiction if you're not with one person.
Hook up and then take the money and then go to the next.
Take the money? Oh, so she was prostituting herself, I guess?
One. And it was like the more I was tricking myself into, the more soulless I felt. It was like that was accurate for the character I was portraying.
Okay, then. That is bizarre. Let's check this heroin addiction. You know what? Let's check ecstasy. Ecstasy is not very addictive. You get a trade-off with drugs, okay? Either drugs will not make you feel that good, or they will make you feel really, really bad immediately after, or days after. In my opinion, weed doesn't really make you feel that good, personally. I mean, it just kind of chills you out and makes you hungry, right? I don't know, I guess it kind of creates a euphoria in some people or whatever, but there is no after effect that makes a mess out of your psyche or whatever. Makes you feel absolutely terrible. Like alcohol has hangovers the next day, right? And it has addiction if you keep taking it long enough. Heroin doesn't make you feel bad the next day, but it makes you feel bad a few days later if you consistently take it. Ecstasy is one of those things that makes you feel bad the next day. Your whole body hurts. Everything hurts. You just feel awful. But you're just so happy when you take it. Like I was saying, drugs are good, right? They make you feel amazing, like Superman. And it's something that's really, really difficult to walk away from when you know what it is, when you know what it can provide. Ecstasy, if you, like, why are people giving others, like, Xanax or whatever? If you want a straight route to happiness, ecstasy. Instantaneous happiness. Why are we messing around with all these other prescriptions? Like, you want that, that's how you get it. Anyway, I've known one person who was addicted to ecstasy, and it wasn't a physical addiction. There are different levels of addiction. There's a habit-formed addiction with weed, for example. You do it every day, and it's hard to put down. Same thing with a needle for heroin addicts. There's no physical or mental addiction to a needle, right? It's just a habit that comes with the heroin addiction. And then there's actual mental addiction, like Coke. There's no physical addiction with Coke. Your mind just needs it. Will do anything to get it. Same with crack. No physical addiction with it, but the mental addiction is off the scales. And then there's physical addiction, and not every drug has that. Klonopin and Xanax, benzodiazepines, they have physical addiction. Heroin has physical addiction. A variety of other drugs do. But ecstasy doesn't have physical or mental addiction the way that Coke or heroin do. It's not really the same. So let's see what she has to say here.
So I just don't like that it takes everything from you, including who you are. I'm almost 33 years old, and I'm just now learning who I am.
She says it takes who you are. She's 33 and she's just learning who she is. Well, that's a problem with all drug use. People form their identity around the drug. Even smoking weed when you're, let's say, 12 years old, you use it as a crutch, a coping mechanism, and form your identity around it, and you stop growing emotionally when you start using drugs. That's why you find 30-year-old drug addicts or 30-year-old drug users, even if it's just drinkers or weed smokers, who are like 12-year-olds mentally. They just act like children because they use that as a coping mechanism and put off maturing. So, sure, I suppose so. Finding who you are at 33, yeah, that's fair enough.
As if I was a small child, which is amazing, and I'm very thankful to Jesus for that.
Thankful to Jesus, of course.
And Hope It Forward in general, and Mike Lindell and Mindy. Other than that, I didn't have much of a life, and I would have ended up dead or in prison.
Off of ecstasy? I don't think it's that kind of drug, but okay.
Again, so I'm just very thankful. I didn't really like anything about him. In all honesty, I wanted a better life.
She didn't like anything about what?
Yeah, I didn't really like anything about him. In all honesty, I wanted a better life.
She didn't like anything about the drug. She just wanted a better life? Okay, whatever. Let's check heroin. I'm curious what the heroin addicts have to say here. If you notice, a lot of these heroin addicts look run down, skinny, her eyes are sunken in and everything. That's kind of what heroin addicts look like when they're in the throes of addiction, but they're supposed to be out of addiction now, right?
It took control of my life, my relationships.
And what are we filming this off of? Are you holding a camera at a TV? Is that what's happening? Where did he get these from?
My body, everything. I couldn't function without it, but I couldn't function with it either. I would do so much that I'd overdose, and then the first thing I'd do when I'd wake up is I'd be looking for more.
Yeah, pretty much. That's it. As I said, I was a heroin addict for a long time. AA and NA push this idea that you are sick forever. There is no fixing this. Well, kind of like perpetual sin. You're an addict now, you're an addict forever. And I just don't buy it. I remember waking up, looking for money, looking for drugs, going to sleep. It was a cycle, a perpetual cycle I was stuck in for years. Now, when you overdose, she said that she overdosed a lot. That is a big problem with heroin addicts. They just want more, you know. If you're not overdosing as a heroin addict, usually it's because you can't afford to get that much to do. It's a central nervous system depressant, so you fall asleep. You get really, really tired when you're on it, and you just kind of fall asleep, and it's a muscle relaxant. It has a muscle relaxant effect, basically, as a central nervous system depressant. So the muscles that move your chest up and down, which expands your lungs and pushes them back in, they work a little less and less and less and less until you're breathing 4 breaths a minute. And that is when you're in trouble. When you start breathing less than 4 breaths a minute, then your lips start to turn blue, your brain isn't getting enough oxygen and stuff. You can buy naloxone behind most pharmacy counters, in New York City anyways. Or you can get a prescription to it if you have friends that do this. And if they're breathing less than 4 breaths per minute, take them, stick the needle in their leg and inject it, or put the nasal spray up their nose and spray it, and they will instantly, wide eyes will stand up, and they'll feel like complete garbage, because naloxone is not an opiate itself, so it doesn't give you an enjoyable effect, but it's stronger than all other opioids, so it knocks every opiate off the receptor instantly and sends you into precipitated withdrawal, is what it's called. Basically, it's like you haven't had heroin or OxyContin or whatever in like a week, and you're right in the throes of addiction. It's painful as it gets. It's insane. But you know what? They're alive, and that's what matters. So anyway, I totally understand what she's talking about here.
I lost my child, so just being a failure as a mother. I couldn't finish school, so...
Opiates are actually linked to a relationship break between a mother and a child, interestingly. Not between the father and the child, but a mom and a kid. The relationship doesn't form as strongly if the mom is on opiates, interestingly enough, so...
Feeling like I wasn't intelligent. I couldn't keep a relationship, so feeling like I wasn't worth anything as a woman. I had no worth, I had no value.
Yeah, it does that to you.
I was just like completely hopeless and completely just despair is the word that I think of when I think of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Despair. That's a strong component of addiction. Absolutely. Because how long are you high from the stuff? You're high from it for a few hours, maybe the rest of the day, if that, right? And all the rest of the time, you have this crushing despair in your chest. Just deep depression that you can't shake off. So, yeah, sure. I'll accept that. What about the gambling section? Let's check Mike Lindells' gambling section here. Before we look at gambling, I just want to mention this interesting little fun fact. There's Parkinson's medicine that you can take, that if they put you on a dose that's too high, you'll become a compulsive gambler, even if you've never gambled a day in your life. I don't gamble. I think gambling is ridiculous and stupid, a waste of time and money. But if you start taking this Parkinson's medicine, it turns you into a compulsive gambler like that. It's crazy. They just have to lower the dosage, and then gambling clears up like that. It's so interesting. Human mind is wild.
The only thing that you can think about is winning. Winning back that money to repay debts, to repay people. And then you think that if I just had this much, then I will stop. Then I'll be able to move on with my life and be a normal person. And that's not the case. It's taken me 10 years. 10 years of lies, of pain, of anxiety, of lost relationships.
Okay, I'm not even convinced that this is real, but all right. By the way, I can tell that this is being filmed on a TV. Somebody's holding a phone filming this on a TV. And I can tell that because of, if no other, this frame right here. It's the blurred frame between when her eye is closing and opening. TVs have these buffer frames, what it's called. It's the difference between 1080p and 1080i. It loads the frame in the background and then fabricates a second frame before showing the next one. And it's a blurred image between frame 1 and frame 2. So it's creating a second frame in between and simulating a higher frame rate, even though it's not. You don't get that the same way if you pause when you're watching the TV. It will just pick one of those frames. So we're looking at one of those buffered frames. And also the lines on the wall over here where my mouse is, clear indication that this is just somebody filming on a TV. Why didn't Mike Lindell just film these videos himself and put them on? Is he like recording from a TV show? That must be it. Anyways, yeah, I don't even know if these are real. But yeah, there's Mike Lindell's Recovery Network TV show or whatever. It's about as cringe as it gets, man. And it's so sad that he's pushing people toward his TV network, the Lindell Report, pushing them toward Jesus. Not just Jesus, but extremism. You know, if he was pushing them toward Jesus, I'd be all for it, maybe. Push them toward Jesus' beliefs and ideals. Be a good person. Love your neighbor as yourself. Treat people how you would want to be treated. I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me water. I was homeless, you gave me a place to sleep. But Lord, we didn't even know you. How did we do those things to you? And he says, what you did to the least of my brothers and sisters, you did to me. If he's pushing those ideals, I'm all for it. He's not. He's pushing extremism, hatred toward gay people and trans people. I mean, we heard this in the porn addiction one, I think, right?
So I struggled with my sexual identity, who I even was, who I liked. Was I bi? Was I gay? Was I
You see what I'm saying, right? If you don't love Jesus and go toward extremist religion, then you'll be gay and all that. Just disgusting, man. It's disgusting that he's using people's weakest moments against them. Anyways, yeah, just ridiculous.